Happy Friday night. I just got out of a little get together with my Senator Jeff Merkley and like 18 or 20 other folks. And before I head home, I want to share my thoughts on how that went. Now, folks know that I'm incredibly critical of the Democratic Party. I don't place a lot of hope or value in career politicians. Jeff Merkley is probably the exception for me. Jeff is a real one. I think he is an entirely decent man and a man with a lot of integrity, and also just a really skillful legislator who earnestly wants to represent the people of Oregon and the Constitution and try and make a better America for all of us. This is the first time I've had the privilege of having a one-on-one conversation with Jeff and meeting with him in a small setting. This wasn't a town hall. It was basically like a small fundraising event for him. So here's the thing. One of the reasons that I'm a big fan of Jeff, and I know that he has integrity, is he doesn't take money from AIPAC. He doesn't take money from big oil. He doesn't take money from big crypto. Jeff does grassroots, small dollar donations from people who want to support the work that he does in the Senate. And I went there not as a social media influencer, not as a creator by any respect, but as one of his constituents who wants to support the work that he does. And it was really interesting to not only have a conversation with Jeff, but then he stood up and addressed our whole group and kind of talked about his thoughts, trying to be a member of the Senate, advocating for democracy and trying to defend against an authoritarian takeover, what that's like from the inside. And then he answered some questions from folks. And I'm not going to get into all of the things that we discussed there, but I really want to give you my overarching impression. And maybe I'll make another video talking about some of the good reforms and ideas that Jeff was talking about, some of the legislation that he wants to put forward if we have a functional government again in the future. Let's just stick to vibes for the purpose of this video. And the vibes are real. They're real bittersweet. On one hand, I am so grateful to have a senator who wants to govern on behalf of his constituents, on behalf of democracy. And on the other hand, how disheartening to see how many other Americans don't have that. They have corrupt politicians who have no interest in legitimate governance at all. Definitely no interest in supporting what their constituents need, what would make our society function better. How much we need Citizens United reform, how much we need serious reform in our government, because everybody deserves to have a senator like Jeff. Everybody deserves to have representation in government, and someone whose focus is on upholding the rule of law, but also fixing the problems in this country, moving us forward, implementing new policies and plans that make us stronger, more resilient, more abundant as a nation. It's a position of privilege to have a senator like Jeff. I know that what we have here in Oregon is rare. But for me, this meeting highlighted how much everybody deserves that. Everyone in the United States deserves to have a functional government, to have representation, to have public servants. Our legislators are public servants who work for us, who want to increase our quality of life, who want to make things like work, right? That's what government should be doing. It should be taking our tax dollars and facilitating a better quality of life for us. And that's not what we have. We have blatant corruption. We have the Republican Party who has decided to, out of fear and greed, and I was talking to my friend Marcia this evening, I think greed wins out a lot. Out of fear and greed, they are willing to hand over our democracy to a dictator. They're willing to succumb to or collaborate with a fascist regime. But we could have so much more. This is why when I talk about the opportunity cost all of the time, it's so hard for those of us who are very idealistic, those of us who have a vision of what this nation could be and what kind of life we actually deserve. It's so frustrating to see a handful of incredibly greedy, empty, bitter, fragile men deny all of us that. And then to see that there are people in government. I wish everybody could sit down and have a conversation with Jeff Merkley. You really get a window that you don't necessarily get at town halls or through his Instagram, all those are great. When you have a conversation and he's sitting down and talking about how the government actually works, the problems that it has and the things that it could be doing, I got so much insight that I've never had before out of this 1-2 hour event. So much insight into how absolutely fucked up the federal government is right now, and also how it could be different. It could be a tool that functions to serve the needs of the people. And I don't want to let go of the hope that we could have that we could get that in this country. It would require serious reforms. But ultimately the people have the power. We have the power, and it's up to us to organize and wield that power collectively to demand the kind of country that we want. I'm fucking sick of opportunity costs. I'm sick of us missing out on what we could have because a couple of selfish, greedy, awful, super rich men, the Epstein class, are depriving all of us of what we should be having, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know. I came out of this get together. Well, one, obviously donating to Jeff's re-election campaign, because here's the kind of person that we all should have in government, serving on our behalf, taking our little measures of power and using them responsibly to try and do right by us. And I don't want to be overwhelmed with that bittersweet feeling that, like, gosh, we should have 100 Jeffs in the Senate. And I don't mean necessarily ideologically. I don't expect every representative, every senator from every part of the country to be as progressive as Jeff is. Jeff represents Oregon. Representative democracy means that we will have diversity in government. What I mean is we all deserve to have elected officials who understand the assignment and are willing to represent their constituents instead of corporate interest, foreign interest, dark money, the Epstein class, their own stock portfolios and bank accounts. And I'm not going to be embittered. I'm not going to be somebody who says, like, God, Jeff is a rare gem, and the reality is there's very few people like him. I don't think that's true. I think there are a lot of people, there are a lot of good, decent people in this country who could be helping us facilitate a functional government. It's going to require an awful lot of reforms. It's going to require an awful lot of work. I guess I'm determined to come out of this get together feeling like, okay, if Jeff can go work in the Senate every day with all those motherfuckers that he has to work with, the least I can do is not be apathetic. The least I can do is organize locally and figure out how is it that I can use my resources and my energy for good right where I am, right? Jeff is taking our measures of power and he's using them in the Senate to try and hold the line for democracy, to try and push back against the authoritarian regime of Donald Trump and the fascist Republicans. If he can work with those guys, if he can sit in chambers with those guys every day, then what can I be doing here, right? I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to be disheartened. Instead, I want to see legitimate representatives who have the same goals that we have, who are willing to do the work. I want to see them in every seat in the House and the Senate, right? And how do we get that? We the people put them there. We need robust, vigorous primaries. And then we need to have massive turnout in the general election, in the midterms. The way that we get more Jeffs in Congress, in the House and the Senate, is that we fucking put them there. We put them there. Okay, it's getting really cold in the car and I want to drive home and have a beer and put my house slippers on and knit for a bit and listen to a podcast because it's 8:00 on a Friday night. Thanks for letting me share my thoughts. I probably will have more later after I take some time and distill everything down. I'm so grateful that Jeff had this get together. I'm grateful for the other good people that were there who want to support elected officials who want to govern on our behalf legitimately.